Well, joining us now, international affairs analyst Paul Ejime and Ambassador Bulus Lolo, who is the former permanent secretary at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Good to see you both, gentlemen, and thanks for your time. Well, these are dire moments, from suspension to an outright pullout. Let's start with you, Ambassador Lolo. What does this mean for the sub-region?
Well, thank you very much, Suleiman, and good to see you, Ngozi. The news of the withdrawal of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger from ECOWAS as a bloc may make the news. Personally, I'm tempted, but I will not say, even if I utter the words, that in my mind it is more of a storm in a teacup than anything. The three countries are making a very strategic political move to buy space and time to consolidate their power and to avoid any pressure that will be further mounted on them to come up with a transition program. And remaining in ECOWAS, of course, will tie their hands, and any claim that ECOWAS has not been helpful will fly in the face of the comment, because for the past 49 years, these countries have been members of ECOWAS. They are not moving out of the region, they are only moving out of the regional arrangement, and therefore their borders will remain. Whatever challenges there are today will not go away overnight with the withdrawal. So their populism to appeal to the sentiments of the citizens may buy them that support, but it will not last. And for the organization itself, and Nigeria as a country in particular, it calls for back-channel diplomacy to be sustained. Person-to-person diplomacy, for instance, is one in which will always come to play and will be very, very effective in a situation like this. But in the immediate, yes, everyone is jolted. We are wondering what will be the future. There's a lot to ask, but it will not, the answers will not be ready, whether now or in the medium term. Let us wait and see their next moves before we panic over this, in my view, strategic political move that they are making.
Paul Ejime, what might be the next move of these three nations that pulled out of the regional bloc? Well, Ambassador Lolo thinks it's just a storm in a teacup. What do you make of the allegations from the three nations leaders saying that, look, there's collusion, or allegations that ECOWAS has actually been colluding with foreign powers to destabilize their countries? Do you think there's any truth to this? Is it justified?
Thank you, Ngozi, and then thank you, Suleiman, and your viewers. I side with the ambassador on this about the fact that it's more or less people are giving too much assent to it. But this is action by people who are desperate, by political adventurers who do not want to be subjected to the law or accountable. Because, since every ECOWAS, their names will be there, it will Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger will feature. And then the pressure. I think, let's face it, the ECOWAS sanctions are biting really hard. Forget, all this face-saving thing that they are, and then the issue that they are riding on, political, the popularity of the situation. Because, if anything, these guys, the credit should go to the population in these countries when you talk about French anti-French sentiments. It's not these guys, because they are the ones that have been used to fight, is it terrorism or is it insurgency? They haven't prevailed. And how many years in Mali, is now, in August, it will be 4 years that they have taken power. And they cannot come out with a transition program. So what they are doing is to perpetuate themselves in power and not be bothered about anybody calling them. Because if you talk about external influence, who is fooling who? They didn't pull out of UEMOA. UEMOA is a French creation that is more or less competing with ECOWAS. And that is where their money goes. They remember the CFA francs. The French treasury controls that. He who controls your economy or your purse controls your life. Why is it fast for them to go talk about ECOWAS when they cannot? They did the good thing to do if it was to be a very strategic. I don't think it's strategic. It's not. It's a faux pas. They have failed, thinking that anybody will listen to them, and I think ECOWAS will do well to just ignore them. And then, because they are not even respecting, I doubt if they are aware of the protocols or the constituent laws that brought ECOWAS together by the leaders who signed the Lagos Treaty of 28 May 1975. Because the article is there, your reporter mentioned it, right, that you need to give 1 year notice. This is not the first time, by the way, a member is pulling out. Mauritania left ECOWAS, gave notice in 1999, and left in 2000. But the same Mauritania is making moves to come back. These guys want to eat their cake and have it. If you can run a transition or non-transition for 4 years, how much when you are not elected? That is, I'm talking about Mali now, right, and the other two countries are copying them. Remember that Guinea is supposed to be another country being led by the military, but Guinea is not joining them in this their adventurism. So it is not about any French. Yes, French. But who voted the French? You had President Macron saying that without France, some of these countries will not be there. Which, as derogatory as that statement is, it is these countries that are calling on France occasionally to come and help them. And then when they do that, you cannot now eat your cake, say, come and help me, and then you have another. What is their game plan? What is the strategy that they have to defeat terrorism and then insurgency in their country?
All right, Paul Ejime, I think those are questions.
They have nationals that have worked in ECOWAS.
Well, sorry to cut you there. Those are questions that must be answered, and I would want to leave them as rhetorical questions. We'll come back to you. Let me come back to Ambassador Lolo. Listening to Paul, he's asked a big question here. What are their strategies? But let's look at the other way. Are there things that the rest of the members, now we're talking about 12 members remaining, that they are likely to miss out from the pullout of these three?
Well, again, let me just quickly go back to the issue of foreign interference. And in all three countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, it has become commonplace to see the Russian flag being waved by crowds. And when we talk of foreign influence, I guess Russia is an African country in the view of these countries, and therefore necessarily a strong alliance with Russia, which is not a foreign power in their sense. It must therefore be one of their neighbors for them to say outsiders are interfering with the larger ECOWAS, but when they align with Russia and China, they are dealing with African countries. That's by the way. Now, talking about what plans they have, in my comment when I said it is a strategic political move, I'm not saying it to praise the move as it may sound. Rather, it is to address the fact that these people are desperate. So it is out of desperation that they have pulled out. And there are 12 countries still remaining in the bloc, will enjoy their solidarity and cooperation, and these three will miss out. Not also to denigrate or look down on them, but the truth of the matter is, if you combine the economic weight of the three countries, what will it amount to? So were they to come and team up to say, okay, let us form a new alliance, necessarily, therefore, it will be to the benefit of the people. So front and center, in my view, it is a leadership that is looking for any straw to hang on to power. And they are also sending a signal to Guinea and by extension to Gabon. The leadership there too may one day wake up in Gabon that they're pulling out of the Central African arrangement, economic bloc, and Guinea to align itself to then make it a quartet in West Africa. But by and large, when I said the immediate and medium term, let's say the leadership finally comes out with an arrangement that allows them to succeed themselves in the three countries that they are leading today, removing their military fatigues and becoming civilian leaders. The same leaders will come back knocking on the doors of ECOWAS that they want to rejoin the bloc. And I'm happy Mr. Ejime recalled the issue of Mauritania. And if you ask Mauritania today, are they better off out of ECOWAS, or they would have rather remained? And I'm sure the answer will be they would rather be in ECOWAS than to be out of it.
Right, Paul Ejime, you have the last word. I mean, the citizens in these countries seem to be very supportive of the coupists or the military interventionists, if you like, especially on the issue of sanctions. They're saying, look, we're suffering, and what these leaders are doing is, is actually heroic. Should or could the sanctions have been, handled better by the regional bloc, ECOWAS?
Here, I mean, and I've said it many times, when there is need for criticism, you do that. But in this case, I think ECOWAS, there were missteps in the handling of it. The issue of going to fight using military power intervention is out of it. It was unpopular and has is dead like a dodo. Remember that the last summit in Abuja, ECOWAS leaders said they were now going to engage. It appears, they realized that, the way they were going about it wasn't okay. But we have since passed that. So why can't these people negotiate? And then they don't want to negotiate. They want to be there, so that they are not accountable to anyone. Let's not be misled by, all those protests that you see. These are the same, the civilians, politicians, use this military to suppress civilians when they protest. Because they are the ones that will give the kudos if there is anything. Because they normally start it, and these people are riding on the crest of what the civilians have said. And because the leadership in some of these countries, particularly the former French colonies, are in partnership, they are in cahoots with France, and then to the detriment of the majority. Forget, usually when there is a coup, there is this, but it's always a flash in the pan, like a honeymoon. It doesn't last. Give these people some 1 or 2 years. And I can tell you here now that if they are not careful, we will see coups within coups. They're trying to. Already we have seen one in Burkina Faso, where a colonel was sacked by a sergeant. Is that where we are going? ECOWAS the region can do better. I think ECOWAS leadership lacuna, is there, the deficit, that institutional, national, and regional, we cannot get away from that. But on this core, I think this trioca, they have missed the point.
All right.
They have more, and they are dragging their citizens, millions of them, 73 out of million out of 400 million in the, and then you just want to punish these people. If the sanctions are biting, you negotiate and then find your way out of it. And how do you do that? ECOWAS has already said, give us a reasonable timetable. The Nigerian General Abdul Salami Abubakar gave carried out a transition within 8 months from July 1998 till February of 1999 when elections were held in Nigeria. And that was when Nigeria returned to, call it civilian rule or whatever. Right. But I am saying that even the most, the worst democratic government is, better than the, what is it called, generals or whatever, dictatorship. So they are not wired to govern. Their role is from the barracks and then to external protection.
But
to govern, no. These guys should realize that and go back.
Point very well taken. Well, ECOWAS has said it's open to negotiations with the three nations. Paul Ejime is African Affairs Analyst, and Ambassador Lolo, Bulus Lolo, former Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Thank both of you for joining us.